Birds singing, horse galloping, a waterfall nearby, leaves rustling. Do you know where you are? Audio is probably the most overlooked quality of video games, but it's intrinsic to atmospheric creation. In the case of Shadows of the Colossus, the noise combined with the image takes you to a forest, a desert, a beach, all real locations that resemble real life. If we consider a game like Shadows of the Colossus, there's a certain realism that comes with its very detailed audio design. Using Swing's ideas of polish, we may further understand this. The fact a horse's galloping sounds different when we're traveling over grass, as opposed to rock, is a very subtle but important detail in creating a virtual space that simulates real life. These effects enhance interaction and are there specifically to create a sort of realism. However, in the case of the Pixelanian, this might not be the case. Those noises aren't like anything you can hear outside of the game. They are purely part of the fiction and feel unreal. But where are you? Do you know? Do you know what type of world you've been sent to? There is still some auditory polish here. The game reacts whenever a specific action is taken. However, the sound of the ball hitting your paddle does not really remind you of the sound of tennis, which is what Pong is supposed to originate from. And the erring sound of Pong can't even be compared to anything we hear in nature. The closest to it would be an alarm buzz. Yet this noise remains distant to reality, something about its vague synthesizer-like timbre and its vibrational qualities. The sound is thus meaningless until assigned a meaning by relation. After some time, the reader learns to recognize these sounds as causes of in-game actions, and thus a world of sound is created from the unnatural. As stated by Grimshaw, it's this process of relation that creates alternative worlds. Auditory polish is very important because the game still reacts like our normal world would, even if the sound is unrecognizable. It is in this way that it is able to well build with sound. This is not just the case for diegetic sounds. For instance, Alien Storm's music, it seems to lack the qualities that normal music would have. It feels unnatural. No audible guitar or flute or saxophone. Its music is purely electronic, truly unnatural. However, it is with this unnatural feel that there may be a difficulty with differentiating between the diegetic. The music is associated with the alternative world itself. In a sense, the music becomes part of the game's environment, more so than if you simply added a radio within this virtual environment. To understand the nature of the aesthetic, I'd like to point out once again that the Pixelanian was created during the genesis of the digital. We must remember that at the time of Atari, the sound was very basic. For instance, for a long time there was no sense of 360 sound, and the noise level itself couldn't even be changed. So typically the noise levels would be boosted up to the maximum to catch the attention of the player. This is why you get the typically loud and almost grating noises of the Pixelanian. Considering this, I invite you to think about the effects of these constraints. Very much like visuals, game developers used these sounds because they had no other choice. They had no way of making their environment sound as natural as Shadows of the Colossus, so they smartly chose not to try. Instead, choosing to embrace the aesthetics of their medium. From the fuzzy, staticky feel as if a TV was turned to a dead channel, and the other qualities that I've mentioned before, such as the synthesizers or round elliptical notes. Like the visuals, sound is beautiful, but not in Gal's sense, but more in the sense of aesthetically interesting. These constraints also created a very solid and unrecognizable aesthetic through its use of sounds, which we associate with these types of games, and which produce a certain emotion every time we hear them. For instance, the sound of the ball hitting the paddle may generate an anxiety because this is a signal that the game hasn't ended.